This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, the Purge celebrates its 5th anniversary this year, and there's been 4 of them, and I think the last 2 I prefer to forget about, but the first 2 not too bad. But we have one of the stars of the original on the phone. In fact, don't invite him in if he's got a mask on. He's just bad news when he's got a mask on. Folks, I give you the wonderfully talented Rhys Wakefield. How do you do, Rhys?
I do very well, thank you. How do you do?
I'm doing fantastic. You ever been out this way before? I'm from New Brunswick, the Maritimes here in Canada.
You know, I have only been to Vancouver in Canada, I'm embarrassed to say, and I had a really lovely time. I think it's a beautiful city.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have to go back.
Absolutely.
Check out more of Canada, really.
Well, I got contact with you. I was looking up your credits, and I didn't realize the Purge was celebrating its 5-year anniversary. What do you think of that?
It's pretty wild, honestly. I mean, it feels like only yesterday that I read this, very obscure script about this, night where everyone would kill each other for 12 hours. And I really thought that it was, this concept that was too strange for people to actually get behind or, really suspend their disbelief enough to get behind that plot. Evidently, I was wrong. And 5 years later, it's still alive and well.
Have you seen any of the sequels?
You know, I am also embarrassed to say I haven't seen the more recent films. I've seen bits of the second, but I need to watch them all. And the main reason is my girlfriend's terrified of scary movies, so of late I have been avoiding them.
And she's dating you?
I know. And when she saw The Purge for the first time, it was pretty funny. It was quite a funny little moment.
Yeah. She's like, oh boy, who am I dating?
Yes, indeed. I think she had a rude shock when she turned to me in the cinema and I smiled. I think it became a little bit scarier.
Well, I didn't like the 3rd and 4th Purge. The second one not so bad, but I thought the first one had an interesting concept, and especially the way things are going right now in society,
Right.
Yeah, it kind of has almost like a Hunger Games kind of vibe to it, The poor suffer and the rich or the politicians are untouched.
Totally. This sort of classist system that's just perpetuated with violence. I don't think any of us quite realized just how political the film really was or was about to become. Because at the time, I really believed that it was just too violent and too far-fetched for people to really believe that any character would do this. But then that's me coming from an Australian perspective where gun laws are very different and always have been, at least in my life. And so I guess I didn't really grasp a certain cultural zeitgeist thing that was percolating that we're now currently in the midst of.
I've never been to Australia, but man, I've interviewed a few people from there, like Little Nell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I interviewed from there, and various others. And when I think of Australia, I think of, man, it's got some of the most deadly snakes in the world, like the taipan,
Yeah, well, I guess it does. I live to tell the tale. I made it to America to escape the snakes.
The snakes, the box jellyfish, saltwater crocodile.
Yeah, that is true. There
cassowary.
There are a lot of things that can kill you, or at least do very, very deadly harm to your human body.
But yeah, I hear most people would more likely encounter a rabid dog than any of those creatures.
Yeah, honestly, it's so rare. I mean, at least in the cities, it's nothing like that. I mean, you see kangaroos out in the country. You'll see crocs if you go in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty fine. I think it's all right.
Do you think your character in The Purge would evade the last against a kangaroo in a fight?
No, I don't think so at all. I think he'd run away scared. I think he'd try to talk reason or philosophy to it and run like a fool.
Well, I gotta say, The Purge, you showing up there at the door, I'm gonna tell you, we all wanted to slap you silly in that film.
Great.
You showed up with that mask on, and really creepy mask. And I always remember the image of the girl on the swing set out there, swinging back.
Yeah. Finding it was like a nightmare.
Yeah. How did you get the part for it? Was it just a standard edition?
Yeah, it was. I sort of just recently moved to LA, moved to America, and I went in and auditioned, and then I think it was like the next day I went in and read for the creator and the director, James DeMonico, and Jason Blum, and I was cast, and I think we were shooting it like the following week, so it was all quite a fast turnaround.
Yeah, and James DeMonico's still doing these too,
He is, yeah. I'm excited to see what he does next. I'm really excited to see what world he conjures up next, because I was always a real fan of that movie Jack that he actually wrote back in the day that was directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh yeah, Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that was such a great film.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't care for it. I didn't think it was that bad,
Yeah, me neither. I thought it was very imaginative. I thought it was quite a cool concept.
Yeah, and of course, who better to play a kid than Robin Williams?
Yeah, I know. It was a role made for him, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, in The Purge, you got to work with Ethan Hawke. He probably got that movie steamrolling to production, because they get a name like that in the film. Yeah,
absolutely. Ethan and Jason Blum are good friends have been good friends for many years. And so I think that's how that partnership came about. And I know that Ethan was really into the concept. And one of the things he said to me, I loved working with him. I thought it's still one of the highlights of my career. And he said to me right before we went rolling up for my takes or my scene, it's like, just so you know, your character's like one of the main reasons I signed onto this movie. I just think it's awesome. And this is before I'd really done anything, so I realized that the pressure was on. In that
what
moment.
A compliment, huh?
Yeah, it was very cool. It was really a joy working with him. I thought that he was spectacular.
And of course, Lena Headey was just in Terry Gilliam's The Brothers Grimm, and here she is still fighting.
Right, yeah. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, and she's so talented. I think that she's so magnetic on screen. It's cool to see her play American too.
Absolutely. And of course, I have to bring up, of course, Max Burkholder, and I can't. How do you pronounce the girl's name? Adelaide Kane?
Adelaide Kane.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Any memories of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everyone was just so well cast. Everyone brought this sort of texture to each of their characters that I think has a lot to do with the success of that movie, of the first film. I mean, I just think that the two leads and that family relationship that we build up, we do actually care about them quite a lot, and I think it's a lot more than most horror films spend time setting up. So, I think that's attributable to those actors. They're all really talented. Adelaide, Max, Lena, and Ethan, I think, were just incredible.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting because when I think The Purge, your image comes right into head. That image of you outside the door with the mask on. And that's really quite a thing when we're not thinking about the stars of the movie. We're thinking about the newcomer, the one that, like, this movie kind of really, I know you worked before it, but this movie really kind of got you some attention.
Right. right. Yeah, I felt this was just such a lucky thing. I really had no idea that it would sort of have the reception that it had. So I don't know. It's funny how these things happen. I think when you're expecting something, you just get the opposite of what you're expecting. So yeah, it was a really cool thing to be a part of, and also a great thing to sort of bring me into America and allow me to continue to do what I wanted to do, which is sort of just play interesting characters.
Looking forward to when you get asked to do the horror conventions, because I'm pretty sure the Purge will be cited for that at some point.
yeah. I mean, that would be pretty wild.
Oh, those are fun. I went to my first one last year, and it was just a blast. So.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Cool. I mean, people go so to town with their costumes. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. You ever seen anybody dressed up like your character yet?
What's wild is actually, I went to the Universal Studios theme park. You know, in LA, there's like they do this Halloween Horror Nights.
Okay.
During Halloween time,
mm-hmm.
And there was this guy dressed as my character, playing my character, and he was doing a great job. And it was truly one of the more surreal moments of my life, because I feel as though I'm this like kid from Australia, from the suburbs of Australia, where Halloween wasn't even celebrated, much to my sadness. And then there's this guy like playing my character that I play. It was very cool, and it was pretty wild to see.
And of course, you've been involved with True Detective too. You know,
right.
How are you enjoying that?
Oh, it was. So we've wrapped. It's all wrapped now, just recently, and it's going to be really great. I'm really excited for that to come out. It's released sometime next year, and I mean, it was a dream, really. That crew and the cast are like this Ferrari of people. They're just this incredible machine that are so well oiled and so talented and passionate about what they're doing. Every single department. It was like a dream job. I loved it.
Yeah, I know you probably get asked a lot about Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, but I'm going to tell you the person I would ask about from that, and boy, when I heard Howard Stern talk to Mr. Skin, this person they called best nude scene of the year. They're talking about, but I think she's gorgeous, Alexandria Daddario.
Oh yeah, wow, she's beautiful. I mean, she did such a great job, I think, in those episodes. She's such an incredible actor, and delivered. I think she really made that character so textured and interesting. But each series is sort of a anthology.
Yeah.
So it's a standalone new cast each time. So I haven't ever met Alex. I think she's very talented.
Oh, she's gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah, she's very good. So I'm excited for that to come out. All of the two leads are played by Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're both so good in what they're doing and how they've characterized these individuals. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I know we got you for a limited time here, so I want to cut into your new project that you got coming out. Tell us about that and give us all the details.
Yeah, so the new project I have coming out is called The Grandson, and it's released August 14th, so tomorrow, if you're in America, on VOD.
Okay.
And it's a mystery thriller, I would say, about a young man who's living a very privileged life with his sister, and that life comes under threat to be taken away from him. And so he does everything and anything he can to preserve it at the cost of no one. So it's quite a fun ride. It's fairly dark.
Yeah, we got no information on that here. I knew that was your film coming up, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're gonna be working with Lesley Ann Warren in that.
Yes, correct. Oh, that's a shame. I wish that they had sent you the film so you could have seen it. Yes, Lesley Ann Warren plays my grandmother in the movie, and she is so incredible. She's so magnetic. She's just got this. She plays this really, how do I say it, like rather loud and monstrous character. And then in real life, like we would call cut, or they would call cut, and she would walk over to the director and be like, "What did you think? Like, was that? Do you think that was cool, or should we try something a little alternate here, or maybe she should hone in more?" You know, she just is so softly spoken and intelligent, and then they call action, and it just sort of explodes back into this character. So that was really, really fun to watch. And the performance is captured on screen. She's really great in this.
What I find interesting about Lesley Ann Warren is that, and I've noticed this with other actors, but I think I first noticed it with her. She acts using her whole body. She knows what to do with her hands, her feet, her posture. You notice that about her, huh?
Yeah, that is such an astute observation about Lesley Ann Warren. Yeah, she really physicalizes this character. Her body does completely change between takes. So much so that once she's in costume, it really, it's like she's wearing this mask. She really emphasizes with her body, so it's great the way this character moves and punctuates her like venomous lines. She's wonderful to watch.
Absolutely. So this is on video on demand, huh?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Talk about more about this film and your experience. I know I haven't got to look at this film, but I want you to get the chance to promote this. So indulge us a little more on your part in the film.
Of course. So it's we shot it. The film, The Grandson. We shot it here in LA, in the hills of Silver Lake, at this huge mansion, which plays as one of the featured characters, essentially, of the film. And it's this mansion that characters have to sell, potentially. So shooting there was pretty spectacular. I mean, there are these taxidermy animals from the 20s and 30s that inhabit the hallways of this old mansion that a silent film star originally owned back in the day. And she apparently drove over a cliff off of Mulholland many years ago. So this house has, like, obviously a lot of history and a lot of stories. So the movie's tone, I think, certainly lent itself to the haunting nature of these hallways, you know. So I'm excited for people to see it. I think that it invokes a sort of strange feeling in you. It feels like its own world.
Now, why wouldn't this get released in theaters?
Well, I know that nowadays there's so many, with theatrical releases, there's so much expense that is associated with the public awareness budget of getting it into the theater, having billboards for it, putting this sort of expense to make it worthwhile, have it physically at a theater, is quite taxing. So I know that with the video on demand services that people use now, they've actually become quite comparable in terms of business. In fact, there's quite a lot of people really watching and buying, renting movies that they wouldn't otherwise see at a cinema. So I think that that's probably the reason they've gone that route. But I really hope that people can get the sense that they've discovered something, because the film it's not totally conventional, but I do think people are yearning for something that's different. And this does feel that way.
Yeah. I find, though, when I go to the theaters, I tend to go, for the most part, to the smaller films over the bigger films, because
Right. Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah. Like, Like even something like Uncle Drew, which was just out. I went and saw that, and I hadn't seen a single advertisement for it. And that
Right.
grabs me more than the big Marvel films, to be honest.
Well, see, I think that's awesome. I think it's probably about figuring out the balance of like a release and on-demand release simultaneous. But it all depends. I mean, I know the distributors have their, I'm sure they have their strategy of how they sort of want the awareness of the public to come into it. The film is in some ways about youth and this kind of apathy of youth, or this Instagramming culture of people being obsessed with perfection. So I'm sure that they'll have a social media campaign that they'll.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And anything else you got coming up?
I have a film coming out. Well, it's not coming out till next year, but I wrote and directed this movie that I've now shot, and it's complete. And I'm really excited for that to come out. It stars Nick Cannon, who is the lead,
Okay.
and he's so amazing in this role. I'm really excited for people to see him as an actor again. You know, he excels in everything that he does, but he's such a great actor as well. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. That's called Untitled Hollywood Hills Project. It's out next year.
What was it like directing a film?
It was different, obviously. It was not without its own challenges, but I think film is the director's medium. It's not the actor's medium. I think TV is the writer's medium, and I think theater is the actor's medium.
Okay.
So I loved being able to really build my own world with a bunch of artists and sort of funnel their expression into this world that I was trying to create. I loved it, and I plan on doing a lot more of it.
Are you acting in it as well?
I am, yes.
Oh wow, you handle a lot of tasks. That must put a lot of pressure.
It was a lot, yes. It was a lot.
Wow, but do you prefer directing to acting, or is there just a balance there?
I think there's a balance. I love directing, and that is something that I really want to focus on moving forward in my career. But that being said, acting is something that is my core, and I will do it till the day that I die. So I think it will just be a dance between the two.
Oh, wow. Are you into screenwriting as well?
Yeah. So I wrote the script that we made, and I love writing.
So it's kind of like a Woody Allen thing, you know, acting, directing, and writing.
Sure, I'll take it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, that's fantastic. And starting out as young as you are, and doing all three. You know what? That's actually a fantastic skill to be able to do multitask like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was really just about having an incredible team that could, where we could all build it together and make it happen. I mean, my crew were amazing, and my cast were amazing, and everyone delivered more and everything, so above and beyond. So
how did you come to get Nick Cannon in it? Was he a choice of yours?
So I loved the idea of him for this character, because his character is very unique, and you'll see it eventually. But yeah, I had the script sent to him, and he responded really well. He really liked it, and I met with him, and he was excited to be a part of it. And so much so that his production company are part of the producers on the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, gee, I hope that works out for you. I hope that.
Thank you.
I hope you keep doing that. That's impressive. I didn't know that you were directing and screenwriting both. So, I mean, that's amazing. That's a great skill, and I hope you keep with it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. I hope so as well.
One more thing before you go. Are you embarrassed with Endless Love?
No, not at all. You know, people have different genres that they really like, and I am not one to judge. I think people of all facets like that movie, honestly, and I love Shauna Festi. I think he's such a talented director. She's an amazing individual. So yeah, no, I grew from that project, so it was cool.
Okay, I was not a fan of that movie, you know. But
Fair enough.
but you know, that's not your fault. But I do have to say, I guess Gabriella Wilde, she is nice looking though. So there you go.
Yes, Gabriella, she's a lovely girl, very very talented. Yeah, she was wonderful to work with.
Absolutely, you know. Maybe you can get her in one of your directing projects.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I hope that the grandson does well on VOD, and I hope that you're able to get some of your directing stuff into the theater. I see a lot of movies in theater because I find with an audience, you really get a feel of the movie. And I'll give you an example what I'm talking about. I attended a screening of The Graduate last year, and I never realized how funny the movie was until I saw it with an audience.
Right, that's amazing. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
What you just said, by the way.
And I think that's
I love the theater experience.
Exactly. So I try to go 5 or 6 times a month to the theater, and I go to the classics anytime I get the opportunity.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I think people miss something when they're. It's fun to watch movies home. Don't get me wrong, you know, in the privacy of your own house. But seeing it with an audience, I think you really get a full experience. You know.
Yeah, the real communal experience. I agree. I mean, down the road from me is Quentin Tarantino's movie theater that he owns, and he just plays old movies, and I go all the time. I mean, it's in renovation now, unfortunately, but it's awesome. You really, as you said, you get to watch these old movies with fresh eyes and see how they were supposed to be digested.
Just curiosity, what was the experience like attending The Purge on premiere night?
That's a good question. It was cool. The first time that we screened it was at the Stanley Film Festival in Colorado, actually, in Denver, where it was the hotel where Stephen King sort of based loosely or was inspired by for the hotel in The Shining, which is pretty cool. So we were there, and that's where the screening happened, and it was with me, James, and Jason, and the audience really seemed to dig it. It was pretty cool, actually. They all had my mask, the character's mask, stuck to sticks, almost like that John Malkovich poster. Everyone had those masks over their face at the end of the movie, so it was pretty surreal.
Well, it's like I said, you know, you had Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey in that movie, and yeah, I remember you best out of that whole movie. So that says a lot about your impact on the film.
Right. Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
And I hope we see more of your impact. Again, the grandson. Again, I hope it does well. And this film that you're directing with Nick Cannon, kudos. I hope that you continue with that. I think that's a wonderful path for you to go on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Before I let you go, I was wondering if you would mind doing a plug for my show. The Endless Love thing, that was just me making a joke. I hope you're not offended with that.
Oh, no, not at all, man.
I think it's funny you went from from Endless Love to The Purge.
Yeah, exactly. That was the sort of fun challenge.
There you go.
Hi, this is Rhys Wakefield, star of The Purge and The Grandson, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert and Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.